when you want to start.
And that is why you always have a towel on hand. Anyways, yeah. Oh, the spoiler, there was no actual end of conversation. That was just how I decided to open up this hangout.
That works.
I'm also not whispering to you, Michea.
Yeah.
Fucking L's sneaking their ways into words. Yeah, one of my exes was named Michaela. Anyway, now we've got a viewer. We didn't have a viewer right from the start, but now we have one. Oh, if it's Pedro, hi Pedro. All right, so the title says it all. This is a discussion on homophobia and transphobia from two non-straight. Well, McKay is homosexual, and I'm just saying that because I would say anyone who's not straight is gay, and you can adopt that term because it was used as an exclusive term. For exclusion, you can use it, but yeah, McKay is homosexual, likes men, and is trans. I myself am non-binary, and I am bisexual. So I'm not exactly sure how we're going to segue into this. It's kind of funny because we just talked for like half an hour about this. But the subject of homophobia, homophobia is dealt with, or homophobia has a lot of roots on the internet. It's kind of casual, even for the people who say that they're not homophobic. Overuse of the word faggot is a big problem, or I say overuse, it probably shouldn't be used at all. I've been known to use it in a reclaiming way once in a while, like when someone talks about beating up a faggot, I say, oh, this faggot bashes back. But, I mean, I'm not a big fan of the word. I really hate the word. It's meant to put down gay people. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's also that people who are homosexual, or in my case, the technical term is homoromantic because I'm actually asexual.
That I did not know.
Yeah, I've been slowly learning what words mean lately. Is I'm attracted romantically to men, but I'm sexually not attracted to anybody.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. But I know a lot of people who are homosexual or homoromantic are taking a lot of the slurs used against them and basically owning them, taking them back, saying, no, we're not going to allow you to use these words to attack us or make us less human. So we're going to remove the stigma from the word by using it ourselves.
Yeah. I actually saw a gay anti-fascist poster using the word, saying fags bash back. That because, well, you probably well know, or neo-Nazis, white supremacists in general, bigots of all stripes, tend not to like gay people. Shows in Antifa gear, and they're basically trying to depict that they're romantically involved in some way, and it says that we bash back. And I personally thought that that was a great way of using the term. I'm not going to get on people claiming manner. I made a couple of posts about the word tranny and about how people who use that to refer to trans people, I want a bike lock for every one of those people. Also, not talking about people who are reclaiming the word bigot.
Yeah.
People who use that, thinking that
You're cutting in and out really bad right now.
Oh. Yeah. This has happened to me before, and I think you cut out a little bit. Might be my internet connection, might be yours. Who knows? But basically, my screen basically showed that I was cutting in and out. Just cut again?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's fucking lovely. Oh, we're up to 6 viewers. This is not a normal amount of viewers that I get. Although then again, with Bearing, I got like 50 when he decided to dogpile my channel. So even that, I didn't get as many as like other ones. I've been in other hangouts that had more people watching because Bearing decided that he was gonna send out a link and say, haha, go look at this video and comment on how they're a bunch of faggots and pussies.
Yeah, those are
Because,
always
you
the
know,
fun
that's...
ones.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I find it funny because I apparently got a lot of comments calling me retarded during that on like Twitter. People are like, "Oh, this American anarchist guy is retarded." This, now that I'm thinking of it, this was a hangout that was on Michael Rowland's channel with Christy Winters, Chrisiosity, and I'm trying to think of who else. Yeah. But it was on Michael Rowland's channel to talk about, Kevin Logan. And it was specifically to talk about the issue of, trying to remember, the issue of like harassment and online abuse. Really fun, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like, here, prove us right by doing this, because that's what they do every single time. It's like the video I did saying we need to call out people who are actively harassing other channels or other people. We need to call out these people who threaten. And then all of a sudden I get a response video made and I'm getting threatened and harassed. Thank you for proving my point. Or the video I did a video on gender and another one on sex. And I spent...
Remember, these are individual free thinkers doing it of their own volition.
Yeah.
And they totally got influenced by the fact that someone said, hey, these cucks are doing
Yeah, it's like, guys,
don't go and
release your family.
Wink, wink. Don't go and harass them. I do not endorse this. Wink, wink. I mean, I think it's pretty clear from like the way that Bearing says it that it's an ass covering, in that there's essentially an implied wink, wink. Mean to single out Bearing. I don't know why none of the other YouTubers are coming to mind specifically, but Sargon, just generally a lot of these YouTubers, like, there's an implied wink, wink. It's an ass covering tactic. It's not real. It's not really to. It's not meant to be a preventative measure. It's just meant to cover your ass.
Yeah, and it's the same with the gender videos that I do, or the sex videos, or even the sexuality videos, where I wind up spending more time. Now I'm to the point of just deleting their comments. It's like, no, not even going to waste my time with you. But it used to be I would spend hours responding to these people, trying to go, no, that view is homophobic, or that view is very transphobic. Here's why. Let me try and help you understand this. And now it's just like, okay, I can't even deal with you right now. Just go away. And
hey,
it's
Michea, why are you against freeze speech?
Yeah, I'm against freezing peaches. Yeah, it's
we've
bad.
already got some comments. Speaking of my friend Sam, who I was talking about earlier, and I'm not doxing him because he is open about his name. The vegan anarchist. Troy.
Yeah, Lonely Wolf is here.
Yep. Crockett is here.
I do not have a woman's voice. I have a deep, manly voice that just happens to be high-pitched right now.
I have a deep, manly voice that happens to be high-pitched. Yep. I do not have a man's voice. I have an androgynous voice. Actually, what's funny is that for most people, they have the opposite issue of what I have, where people hear their names and or people hear their voices and they hear it as basically they hear it as they'll hear it deeper because of the way, like, your skull vibrates, like the way sound travels. I know this is off topic, but basically your your skull vibrates along. Vibration is, or sound is, a form of vibration. All of it comes from some form of vibration. And so basically, the way is that your skull will vibrate slightly, and that affects how you hear yourself. That's why you always sound different than when you hear yourself recorded. But I've noticed that when I hear myself recorded, that I'm actually talking in a deeper voice than I'm hearing myself in, which is like most people have like the opposite thing where their voice is actually like it's actually up an octave from what they hear themselves as. But then basically I hear myself talking and I'm thinking, oh, I'm actually pretty like I'm a couple octaves up there, and then all of a sudden I hear myself recorded and I'm like, I fucking sound like I don't know, I can't think of a movie comparison. I was going to be like, oh, the Ben Stein character from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and then I'm like, no, not quite, but it's like a very boring, almost monotone voice I hear myself as, and maybe maybe it's just because I don't really hear myself in a positive light. Although then again, I've also been, when you hear your voice recorded for a while, the way you hear yourself starts to change, and also you start to get used to it, which I think has definitely happened over the months that I've had an actual regular channel, even though I took a bit of an internet break because, well, mainly because of the whole Ivy thing, but even then I was just kind of getting stressed from political YouTube in general.
Yeah, I don't go near political YouTube. I would wind up in prison.
Well, I mean, when I talk about political YouTube, I consider the social justice issues to be part of political YouTube. So, like, basically, all I do is at this point, all I really do is put up videos for political YouTube, and I don't really watch that many political YouTube videos anymore. If you look at like all the likes on my Twitter for like recent liked videos, it'll be like Dark Souls, because it's like, I can't fucking take the like I cannot take the anti-feminist and feminist kind of like shit online. I mean, it's just because it is very tedious, and so yeah, it's just you know
Well, it's also that a lot of those channels, they, and now with the splintering of the skeptic community and the anti-fem communities and everything, we're seeing it. We're seeing the channels that are more accepting to adapting and understanding or learning how science is constantly changing and improving. And then we see the channels that have figured out how to make money by constantly pushing the homophobic views, the transphobic views, the heteronormative views, basically. And it's basically, you're seeing the, oh, we figured out how to make money by selling bigotry, versus the people who go, oh, I fucked up, let me adjust my views.
yeah. Well, I mean, I've very much been an I fucked up, let me adjust my views kind of person. Sometimes it is really hard for me to do it. I mean, even like I think it was like a couple of weeks ago, I actually said something, and I mean, even though I have extended family that was Jewish, I said something that accidentally was a bit anti-Semitic, and I didn't know it until someone pointed it out and explained it, and I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. I probably should not have said that. Um, I at the same time too, it also, I mean, basically someone corrected my view on something, and I'm like, actually, that makes sense. You are correct. Like, even that I see this is the view that you got from what I was saying, even if that was not the view that I held. I see exactly why those words sound like that. And I basically had to like calm down and take a look, and I wasn't like, oh, you're not being rational because you're emotional about this. You're Jewish, so it's easy for you to scream anti-Semitism because you're emotionally attached to it. Because, you know, if someone had told me that bullshit about autism, I rightly so would have freaked the fuck out. So I basically I exercised a bit of empathy, and I'm like, actually, I understand exactly where you're coming from. Like, thanks for pointing this out.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I've come like in the originally I used to be that person who was like, no, I'm going to use this word. And then I learned through growing up, basically, okay, that word is probably not something I should use. And then I did my olive branch video trying to reach out to anti feminists and non feminists saying, hey, we need to work on issues. And I got sucked in on the whole, oh, I can say anything now without repercussion, free speech type stuff. And I said horrific stuff. I mean, I used racial slurs, I used sexual slurs, I used gender slurs, you name it, I was using it and throwing it around like, yay, party favors type thing.
Oh, I can
And
definitely say I grew up using the word gypped, which is a very common one that I've seen around. But using it pretty freely and like not thinking there was anything wrong with it, but of course it has roots in the word gypsy, and it's basically implying that all gypsies did was rip people off. So it
yeah,
was kind of like, I should stop using that because that's just from its origins, it sounds racist. So
yeah,
I'm gonna stop using that one. I grew up using the F word that we mentioned earlier, but basically, so basically, so I was using that word like constantly, and I didn't even know that it was a slur for gay people. I had no idea what it meant. We, um, ironically enough, it was kind of like the Louis C.K. using how he was like, "Oh, we grew up. It didn't mean gay," but it's like, well, it did, even if you didn't know it at the time, and that's basically what it was. Is that we didn't know that it meant gay, but it was, but it's something that we picked up from it's something that we picked up from our family, from our families around us using the word, and we didn't know the context for it. So we just heard the word and we thought, oh, this is just an insult that you throw at somebody that's completely meaningless. And of course, then you get older and you start to realize, oh, this is what the word was used for. And yeah, I should probably stop using that word.
yeah,
Um, I mean, I'm not going to have somebody thrown in jail for saying the F word, for saying faggot, or for saying the N word. But I'm going to definitely call it out as homophobic bullshit. I am going to explain that, like, everything wrong with that word. Kind of like when I'm not going to have someone arrested for using autistic as an insult, but I'm going to say, hey, like that's not right. That is completely out of line, and that is a dick move. And then I'll also point out why it doesn't even make any like sense to use it as some kind of replacement for unintelligent, because motor skills and intelligence are not the same thing. Uh, there is nothing to suggest even that low functioning autistic people are less smart. It's, I mean, it's possible, of course, but motor skills do not mean the same thing. I mean, Stephen Hawking has no motor skills because of ALS, but he's by no means unintelligent. I mean, he's seen as one of the most intelligent. Um, so it's like, so of course that always like makes me laugh. It's like you do realize that these are not like equatable. I mean, just because some people have trouble with motor skills, which is the main issue with autistic people who can't speak. I know from the stories from my mother that it took me personally quite a long time to learn how to speak properly. But yeah. Oh, yeah, now the conversation has turned into one about frozen peaches, and Troy just said fresh peaches are more moist than the frozen ones.
Yeah, I'm
That's
sitting there
one of
just
his,
like he's been
that's
using
one
the
of
word
his
moist.
Yeah, I was going to say that's one of his things that he's just been doing on Facebook that I find it funny because of like oh, I find it funny because of like the context he uses it where it's like it, basically I had been in a hangout with him and talked about it before that, and it just
Yeah.
the vegan anarchist just said fresh peaches are better than frozen peaches.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I would say that's true. I mean, I personally love my I mean, the only fruit that I actually prefer frozen over fresh, or well, no, I don't mean actually. No, I prefer to take fresh ones and put them in the freezer. Are grapes, and then basically eat them right out of the freezer. You know,
Yeah.
it's just something that
I was gonna say for me it's frozen berries, but that's about it.
frozen berries too. But yeah, I mean, a lot of just bigotry in general is kind of deep rooted in our culture, and it's hard to actually deal with all of it. I mean, it's part of the reason why I do not consider myself for capitalism is because I don't think under capitalism that you can completely get rid of these bigotries. That a lot of these structures that are there, um, I mean, some of these racial structures are specifically because of scapegoats that come from rich people who don't want to lose their wealth, who are afraid that if you give people a much more equal footing in society, that they are going to lose their position in society. They're no longer going to be on top, or they're going to be on top by slightly less than they were before. And so it's easy to say, hey, look, the Jews are taking over banking and they're going to like completely destroy civilization.
Yeah.
It's especially when people were already especially when people already had some discomfort to that group. I mean, there was already some race baiting about Mexicans before Donald Trump, but Donald Trump simply capitalized on it and said all of this it's because of illegal immigration. We're going to build that wall. We're not going to have any more illegal immigrants coming in, except statistically that is absolutely fucking false. Because, well, one, most undocumented immigrants come in via plane or come in legally with a visa first. So they're not coming in illegally in the first place. And then the ones who are coming in illegally, namely drug traffickers, the drug traffickers, like if that's what you're worried about, because I've heard that being used as like the reason we need a wall. The wall isn't going to stop the drug traffickers because the way the drug traffickers got in is that they buy corrupt people, or they pay corrupt people to let them in to peddle drugs. So all you're doing is you're changing it from basically the guy saying just go on through to having them pay the guy to actually open the way in. But they're still going to get in. It's not going to stop a thing. Nothing's going to stop because of this wall. The wall is just going to be this giant waste of money out of Americans' pockets, out of their tax dollars, or out of what they purchase, because they're going to have to pay more for goods that come from Mexico. So yeah, when you have a threat to your position, which, I mean, it's quite funny because while rich people love to scapegoat about Mexicans, they rely on undocumented Mexican workers to run a lot of things because, well, they can pay them a lot cheaper than they could pay a white.
Yeah, that's basically what it is that capitalism especially has been built through the use of legally using illegal means, for lack of a better phrase, of using undocumented workers or paying people less than they should be getting paid, or using child labor. And it's been people fighting back, like the unions that fought back during the coal mining years, the people who fought against child labor.
Might I bring up that the unions back then were a lot more radical. They weren't in bed with the businesses like they are today. In a lot of cases, a lot of the unions are like, oh, we've got to work with the businesses and we've got to be pragmatic about this. But a lot of the unions in the early 20th century were like, a lot of the people involved in them were straight up socialists and communists. I mean, the Haymarket Affairs was literally they literally lynched anarchists because they were advocating for the 8-hour-a-day workday. All of these rights that have been made for labor have not been made by liberals. They've been made by radicals, by socialists and communists of all stripes, anarchists, Marxists, you name it. It's been the radical left that have made who have made the progress, because the progress isn't going to come from going, please expand this right for us, please. You know, when the Democrats go and they're like, please give us a public option, and they're like, no, you can have the individual mandate, but no public option. When the original thing that they were going to push for was a universal health care, they could have maybe gotten a public option with that. It's like, please give us the puppy. It's like that is not how you negotiate anything. You negotiate by saying, I am not going to let you fuck me over. This is what I'm starting at, and I may move to compromise, but this is where I'm starting at, and this is what you're negotiating from. And
yeah.
I am not going to move any farther than I think I have to.
Well, it's like,
and that's how negotiation works. Mm-hmm. Rich people know that. Republicans seem to know that very well, because they do not give in on anything. They're like, this is what we're working from. No abortion. Like, this is what we're working from. We're working from this. And they're very stubborn.
Yeah, because one of the big issues, and this is something that both my husband and I have been noticing recently, is that especially people who live in poverty, like myself, I grew up starting out poverty level, and my parents advanced, thanks to capitalism, up into middle class. And so by the time I graduated high school, I was pretty well off. And then I went back into poverty because I had no skills that were capitalist friendly. And I was also already by that point, I was very against capitalism. I was like, I don't want to have to step on people to advance. I don't want to have to hurt people to get further in where I am, to better myself. Why should I have to hurt people type view? But so I went back into poverty basically. And when one of the things is I was constantly being told to pull myself up by my bootstraps, or that I'm not working hard enough, or all the different stuff to basically shame you and to make you complacent. And one of the things that we're now being told, especially now that Trump's in office, is at least you're surviving, at least you're making it making do. And both my husband and I said, no, we are not meant to just survive. If we were meant to just survive, then everybody would be like that. We need to fight back against this. We need to push back against this. I refuse to just survive. And the pushing back against it, just seeing how people have pushed back against us the moment we said that we're not going to just survive, that we need to better ourselves, and that we deserve to have these basic rights of, we deserve to have food, we deserve to have shelter, we deserve healthcare that doesn't screw us over, stuff like that. And it's really just shown us how deep seated the need for poverty is within capitalism, and the need for bigotry, even, of we need the bad guy. We need the dark skinned guy to be the bad guy, the light skinned guy to be the good guy. The homosexual person, the transgender person, they aren't the proper type of person. We need to put them down. We need to show them that they are the bad people so that we are the good people, type thing. And
it's like the old Carlin joke where basically it's, well, they've got you guys arguing amongst yourselves while the rich are just running away with all your fucking money.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. It's basically that they aim for finding somebody that they can scapegoat, as you said, the Jews. And currently it's transgender people and gender nonconforming, non-binary people that they are going after, because it's like, look at all these people that they're just trying to be special snowflakes while they're off in their nice little quote unquote mansions, enjoying basically our backbreaking labor. So it's like, oh, we've got a villain over there. Look over there, as they take your wallet.
Basically. It's basically a rich version of Bender, where Bender's like, oh, look at my head, while his body is actually behind taking your wallet. And then he's like, oh, I'm done. Show's over. As soon as he's fleeced you, like, you know what? Maybe I was wrong about this. Yeah, maybe it wasn't the Jews. You know, maybe we'll figure it out someday. When in reality, they're the issue. They're the ones who are fleecing you. They're the ones who are living off of your labor. They're not giving you. They're taking from you, and they're not giving you enough to do more than survive. It's libertarian socialist rants. The way he put it was, which I think is a very eloquent way of putting it, is basically the people who own businesses, they don't want you super healthy. They want you just healthy enough that you can work their machines and you can run their business, but just unhealthy enough that you don't feel like you can do this without them. That you feel like you need them.
It's like with drugs. It's a cycle of dependency. The moment that we realize that we don't need them is the moment that their world comes crumbling down. So what they do is they push it through media, they push it through textbooks, they push it through basically the entire culture, saying you need us so that you can survive, and without us the world will come crumbling down. And if you ingrain it from a young enough age, that people will start to believe it. And when somebody steps forward and says, no, we don't need them, then they will wind up basically turning on that person who's saying, no, we don't need them. The book Brave New World actually showed that pretty well, with the children that were listening to the stuff during nap time, the ending is better than mending, and all the different phrases. And I look at the world today going, holy fuck, we're starting to live in Brave New World, just without the set caste system and the set, oh, well, they're all born in bottles type thing. We're aiming towards that. We're already going towards 1984, which I don't want either, but.
No, remember 1984 is a book about communists that was written by a democratic socialist. Yeah, he was totally warned. It was a democratic socialist warning you about the dangers of socialism. That's what the book was about.
Yeah, he was
totally not about utilitarianism in general.
He was totally against socialism.
I mean, Orwell was not a great person by any means, but like the book definitely was not an I mean, I can't say that it was necessarily an anti-capitalist book just by reading it. Of course, I can say from context of things that he said that he definitely intended it to be anti-capitalist amongst other things. But it wasn't particularly, it wasn't against capitalism in particular. But if you look at the opinions of Orwell did find capitalism to be an oppressive machine, similar to something like you would see in 1984. I mean, again, he was also pretty racist, and he did end up he did end up doing some really questionable things for the government after World War II. But I mean, the book definitely was not an anti-socialist thing. Just even then, like if people question the USSR, I really hate this idea that if you're against the USSR or you're against the way the USSR does things, you must inherently be against socialism, when that is not the case. Socialism is a very diverse way of looking. Socialism is very diverse. It's a very diverse political philosophy with different ways of approaching it. All of them do have the common goal of common ownership of the means of production. Essentially, the workers own the place. This doesn't mean that you get rid of management in all cases. In fact, there are plenty of cases where you don't want to get rid of management, but you are going to essentially make it so that there's no boss that collects the fruits of your labor. Everybody collects the fruits of their own labor, from each according to his ability, to each according to his need, all of that. I find it funny that that our discussion on homophobia and transphobia segued into a conversation about capitalism.
Well, capitalism.
I wish that this happened with more of my guests.
Well, it's basically that capitalism, for lack of a better phrase, capitalizes on using homophobia and transphobia. It capitalizes on racism to keep control of the working class, the people who are on the bottom. So that way they can basically, as I said, they keep, it's the dog and pony show. It's the carrot on the stick going, there's the bad guy over there. And with
it's the bad guy over there, champ. Come on, you got this, boy.
Yeah, it's basically, you look at how they have to have a villain in, and how they portray, say, portraying transgender people in movies. It's always played, the transgender woman is always played by a cisgender man, and it's almost always that they are mentally ill, or they're disgusting, or they are the evil person. And so when somebody comes out as transgender, there's already that fear thanks to the movies.
You mean they're not?
Harvey. And then, sorry, my husband's folding laundry right now. And and what happens is you get the villainization. The same with the homosexual people. They are the weak people. They're the comic relief. They are the villains who are nothing short of a pedophile. All these disgusting things. And so you come out being raised on that in the media, and you see a person come out and be like, I'm transgender, and all of a sudden those ingrained fears because of everything that you've seen and heard and dealt with growing up,
I mean,
all of a sudden shows up.
I'm not saying that gay people are inherently pedophiles, especially if you look at the modern LGBT community. you would see that there's kind of a hatred for pedophiles there, or
Yeah, obviously.
I mean, I tend not to be hateful of pedophiles particularly, but pederasts, people who have actually had sex with children, because I understand, at least from a psychological point of view, that they can't really control that they are pedophiles.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
there's but there's the difference between the desire and the acting on it.
There was a time, though, like after Stonewall, where some of the more radical left, especially in the queer anarchist movement, where they were just where there was like pedophile or pederast advocacy, and some of them were even open about being pederasts. And it's kind of like a dark period of history. It's not one that should be ignored, but I think it's definitely a mistake that the LGBTQ community should never make again. We should never we should not ever allow pedophiles to try and advocate their quote unquote right based on the progress that the LGBTQ community has made.
Yeah, that's what a lot of, and it's through using transphobia and homophobia that a lot of the people like I could just dress up in a dress and be a woman, or I would go into a woman's bathroom. It's basically they're using people's misconceptions of being transgender or non-binary or homosexual, and to justify their own disgusting, for lack of a better phrase, disgusting values and desires.
I mean, if they walked into a room and said, like, if they're the ones who are going to walk into a woman's bathroom to peep on women, they're the ones with the problem, not the ones who want to go in and take a piss.
Yeah. And it's also one of the funniest parts about this, and it's not funny, haha, it's funny, oh dear God, why didn't you realize you just did this, is that by forcing say the bathroom bills, which are nothing but transphobia, let's be honest there, and by forcing these bathroom bills and saying that you have to go to the bathroom of your assigned sex, that also means that transgender men have to use the bathroom of the sex they were born with, or supposed chromosomal sex. So that would mean transgender men who have fully transitioned.
Yes, because they don't actually do tests on your chromosomes when you're born.
Yeah.
You can be born intersex and not know it for years and years. Yeah. And also, even completely, there are people who will actually be intersex and not know it for even longer because they never actually had any fertility issues or anything like that. Like, I'm trying to remember when this happened, though, but basically, what happened was this. Sorry, my thoughts are a bit jumbled, but basically, this 70-year-old man had to go in for like a surgery. I can't remember what the surgery was for, but when doing the surgery, they found that he had a fully functioning uterus, something he hadn't known about for 70 years. I mean, he was intersex and never knew it. It never ran into anything that would show that he was. He had kids just fine. You know, sex is actually a lot more complicated than people give it credit for. I mean, people want to talk about how, like, oh, we're treating gender differently from sex. Well, yes,
it is different.
But even then, your view of sex is also not accurate either. While it is different, at the same time, you do realize that your view of sex is completely unscientific, right? That there is a lot more to it than that. your biology textbook was not a comprehensive. When your biology textbook talks about sex, it's not a comprehensive, peer-reviewed studies and all this research that has been done on the way sex works in many different animals. It's simplified so that children can essentially do well on a test to upcome. They can pound it into their memory. That's why it's simplified. It's not that is in no way comprehensive. It does not cover all the intricacies of it.
Yeah, and with the especially there's so many different cases of intersex people. But getting back to the transgender,
Intersex people don't exist. It's not like I talked about how they exist.
Yeah, they don't exist. They're imaginary. Yeah. God, I did not even want to talk about why I had to disable the comments on my sex is not binary video. But with the transgender bathroom bills, they ignore the transgender men, and basically it actually created a loophole for cisgender men to go into women's bathrooms. I shit you not, because they can go, what? I'm a transgender man and I'm being forced to go into this bathroom. And they can do that as a loophole when it was claimed that they were protecting it from cisgender men who would dress up as women to go in to assault women in women's bathrooms. Now they don't even have to dress up. They just walk in. No, I'm a transgender man. What, are you going to call me on it now?
Well, I don't think anyone would actually go through that much of an effort. I mean, if even that, like, most bathrooms are not guarded, like, they don't have, like, security guards, like it's the fucking Queen's throne room. You usually can pretty much walk in. I mean, I've walked into the woman's bathroom on accident more times than I can fucking count. And actually, there have been a few times where I've had to use it just because the men's bathroom was out of order at a school. But yeah, like, if the bathrooms are right next to each other and your mind is wandering, you can walk into the wrong bathroom by accident. They're not guarded. It's not like they're guarding, like, the fucking Queen of England's throne room. It's so, like, they never needed to dress up in the first place. So why are you paranoid all of a sudden when people just want to be allowed to go to the bathroom based on the gender that they actually identify as? Is it because now they'll actually be presented, and now they might be partially presenting as that gender? Is that, like, why are you all of a sudden uncomfortable now when already any man that wanted to walk in and assault women in a woman's bathroom before could have easily done it simply by walking into the bathroom without dressing up, because it's not guarded or anything like that?
Yeah,
why is it suddenly a problem now? I mean, it was a very rare thing that happened before. It's not something that happens commonly. In fact, you're more likely to have a man walk into a bathroom to touch a little boy, to walk into the men's bathroom and touch a little boy, because, well, no one's going to be even slightly suspicious at a man walking into the men's bathroom. So my mother actually, as a kid, had me go into the women's bathroom with her because she didn't want me, like, she knew that she wasn't allowed to just walk into the men's bathroom. Like, some people might say something about that. And so she would just drag me or my brother into the bathroom and say, hey, like, if someone took issue with it, which most people aren't going to take issue with a mother bringing their kids in, even if their kids are boys, they're not going to have an issue bringing their kids into a bathroom with them because they don't want their kids to get, like, molested or even killed in the other bathroom because, well, they're children. They're children. They physically cannot defend themselves.
Yeah, and basically what it is it's actually forcing people to acknowledge that transgender people and non-binary people exist. It's forcing them to go, oh, these people have always been here, But now we actually have to acknowledge that they exist. It's not, oh, don't look at it, dear, and walk away. It's
Yeah,
now
it's
saying you have to acknowledge it, which is then forcing these people to acknowledge or at least see their own transphobia.
yeah.
And because they don't like it, instead of going, oh, I should grow and learn from this and maybe get rid of my transphobic views, it's no, we need to get rid of it all over again, put it back under the rug, hide it.
Well, I mean, also the thing too is it's, as you brought up that whole thing. It's kind of like when you dealt with the "don't ask, don't tell" thing. It was not controversial to implement that amongst people who were homophobic. Because, well, one of the most common ways of being homophobic is thinking, I really don't care if people are gay. They don't have to go telling me about it. But if they tell me about it, I should have free reign to kick their ass out. When "don't ask, don't tell" was getting repealed as a homophobic policy, all of a sudden it became controversial, when before it's like, gay people were going into the military before. And I mean, obviously, as an anarchist, I don't think that the military is great. I think the military kind of serves the ruling class, but that's a completely different topic. I mean, just the whole point is with "don't ask, don't tell" was you didn't ask people if they were gay, and they didn't tell you. But if they told you, you were allowed to discriminate against them based on that information. Of course, it didn't explicitly say that, but essentially what it was is that, like, oh, to prevent bias, we're just going to have people not even state it. They're just going to
Yeah.
decline to say anything. And that's not how you deal with an issue like homophobia or racism, transphobia. You don't say, we're just not going to, like, acknowledge it. We're going to just, like, we're going to be gender blind. We're going to be sexuality blind. We're going to be completely colorblind to everything. And we're going to, like, the thing is with, like, sure, color blindness doesn't make you hate people of color, but what it does is it keeps you from actually seeing the issues that people of color face. That's the issue there, is that's what happens when you don't acknowledge it, is that the stuff that they face from the people who do acknowledge it and see it as a bad thing, you're neutral. We're not even going to, like, your initial, we're not even going to, like, think of them as bad or good, because there's only one race, the human race. There's only one gender, human, which I actually saw that comment from someone on my friend's video. And I happen to know the person who made the comment too, and I think he was trying to troll because he believes in, like, all this transgender business. But yeah, there's only one gender, human.
Yeah,
That doesn't stop. That doesn't stop bigotry. It just blinds you to it.
yeah, all it is it is a way to go, oh, if we don't acknowledge it, we don't have to deal with it. See, I don't see color. And it's like, no, you see color, you're refusing to acknowledge it. And by claiming, like, the people that I most deal with that say stuff like that, if I don't see gender, I don't see color, it's they then turn around and they start basically using it as an excuse for their bigotry, for their racism, for their sexism, for their homophobia, all of
Yeah,
that stuff.
yeah. It it just kind of boggles me. It's like, I mean, also for the police, for example, if it actually, yes, Vegan, I know who it was. I know it was Mancom. But yeah, well, we call him Mancom because he's a massive manarchist. But yeah, um, basically, so basically what it is, so, like, police are actually told and taught to be colorblind, and that that actually helps to fuel racism, because then you are not told to see any racial pattern. So you may not actually see the fucked up shit that you're doing, how you're specifically targeting people of color more than you are white people. You're thinking, oh, everything just happens to be the way it is, you know? We're not going to take color or race into account. We're not going to take into account any of the conditions that might have put them into this situation. I mean, if the judge's kid has a wild party with a lot of cocaine and booze, you know, and it's really loud and there's a couple noise complaints, you know, that's the judge's house. We're not going to, like, we're not even going to go there. Be quiet, but we're not going to arrest the judge's kid. However, if you go into a poor neighborhood and happen to see a black kid who smells of pot, you think, well, he doesn't look like he has any family who can bail him out, and I don't want to get in trouble. So I'm going to go and I'm going to harass him, use him to meet my quota. So you may not be doing it intentionally, but you're doing it because the system has because you've been blinded to the system. The whole point of teaching colorblindness is to completely blind people to the system. That doesn't solve the problem. That just makes people not see the problem.
Yeah, and it's also, to not get back into social views, but it is one of the main tools for things like capitalism, is to go, oh, this isn't a problem, keep going as it is, nothing to see here, move along. And the funny thing is that because of the whole thing with the police, that's actually when I first learned about white privilege, because up until that point I was like, oh, the police are there to help everybody, the police are wonderful, the police only go after actual criminals. And then I saw what happened to my husband whenever the police dealt with him, and I was like, holy shit, is it because of the fact that I'm white that I get treated entirely different by the police? And I started watching it more closely with my friends and how they had entirely different experiences. And even there have been times when I'm with my husband, because I'm the one who drives, and I've had cops pull us over before and ask if I was okay because the scary looking dark-skinned man is in the car with me. Was I kidnapped? Or we'll be walking down the street and the cop will pull up and make sure that I'm there of my own free will. And it's like, if I'm walking alone, the cop's not going to do this. But suddenly,
this is my fucking husband. Yes, I'm here of my own free will. I'm just driving my husband around.
My husband is technically blind. He can't drive.
I was going to say, isn't he sight impaired?
Yeah, he's the term is aphakic. He has no lenses in his eyes. So he can have his vision can be somewhat corrected through glasses, but even then everything's really fuzzy. He doesn't have really good depth perception, all that stuff. So
yeah, I mean, I would know nothing personally about sight problems. I have marksman's eyes.
I hate you now. We can no longer be friends. No, I'm kidding on that.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're not friends on Facebook because I'm unable to send you a friend request.
Yeah. Well, that's only because I have it locked down. And it's not you. Yeah. It's locked down because I have a stalker.
Oh, I was assuming that it was... I was assuming that it wasn't me because it was locked down way before I ever got there.
Yeah.
Way before I ever even knew who you were.
Yeah, the joys of stalkers.
I also know that when you lock down an account, basically nobody can send you a friend request. But I'm not sure if you're able to send friend requests to other people.
Yeah.
I mean, it would make sense that you could because that's fine. But yeah, it's like, oh, we can no longer be friends because you have such great eyes. No, yeah. I'm kind of joking. My eyes are basically just normal. I mean, I
Yeah,
get
it's
migraines not due to my eyes. That's due to years and years of head injuries. Some self-inflicted, some not. But none of it has to do with my eyes.
yeah, it's like one of the running jokes, and it's for my husband and myself, is that Nicholas the
He
Second, Tsar of
masturbates a lot.
oh, way too much. That's why he's blind. Obviously, he waxes the palms of his hands. But Nicholas the Tsar of Russia could be on our ceiling, and we wouldn't notice it without our glasses on. And it's like, and our friends who aren't sight impaired are like, yeah, I just get up in the morning and I get going. I don't have to find my glasses. And we just look at them and kind of flip them off and go back to what we're doing.
Well, I mean, my grandmother and my father, but both my grandmother and my father my father doesn't wear glasses anymore. He either wears contacts or he only needed to wear them like for certain periods in the day or something. But like but both my father and my grandmother have been known to wear glasses. Um, so like the genetics are definitely there for me to need glasses. But I have not run into any problems with my sight.
That's always good.
No, actually, with my father, it was reading glasses that he wore. He needed them specifically for reading. Which also is something that's very likely to happen. It's quite possible I could grow up to be farsighted. But hey, until then, I've got perfect vision.
Yeah.
I mean, you can kind of hone your like if you have normal having normal vision is 2020. 2020 isn't like the actual like that isn't actually perfect vision. That's just normal vision. You can like I have basically at any given moment from my sight tests, I think it was like a 22/20. Like that's like where my vision is at. Like I can see a little bit farther than most people can. But I mean, also in sports, a lot of athletes they start with normal vision, but you can kind of hone your sight and practice your sight if you're an athlete. And obviously, there's limits to that. Like, it's not going to fix eye problems that you have if you're nearsighted. You might be able to hone the sight that you have when you're wearing your glasses, but you're not going to suddenly stop seeing things as a blur from farther away.
Yeah, they actually teach you stuff. My doctor had different exercises that he had for us to do to help our eyes, but obviously you're not going to sit there and like squish your eye back to normal size, but unless you pop.
You're not going to pop your eye back to normal size. That is anti-scientific bullshit.
If I press on my eyes, my vision will get better. What? Oh, you will love this though. The latest in transphobic what the fuckness is now they're trying to claim that because of vaccines, people are becoming transgender. Not only do you become autistic, but you become transgender from vaccines.
Also don't remember the fluoride in the water is also turning frogs gay. Don't forget about that. It's turning the frickin' frogs gay.
Yep.
Also, my friend Vegan asked a question, which I'm pretty sure is off topic. Did you not read the question, Sam? Or did you not read the title of the video, Sam? But he wants to know, or they want to know how you feel about polyamory.
Well, considering that I'm in a polyamorous relationship, I'm pretty open to it and pretty positive views on it. I am married to my husband, but I do have a girlfriend as well. Well, both my husband and I have a girlfriend. It's the same person. So
it's a triad.
Yeah. We basically, my view on polyamory is love is love. It doesn't have to be sexual. Like for me, as I said, I'm homoromantic but asexual. So I love men, but I'm also slowly becoming more polyromantic, I guess is the term, with my girlfriend as well, where I'm just viewing it as I love this person. I'm not sexually attracted to them, but I love them. What's wrong with that? Another term for it is rainbow families, I guess, is the other term that people use, where apparently I have 50 kids because they all view me as their dad, because they all love me as a parent and I love them as my kids.
I
So,
mean, I almost, I mean, I had a pregnancy scare in high school, but I'm not old enough that anybody would call me dad unless I sure, if, the if she hadn't
that really cut in and out for a moment.
kind of favor in each other's eyes. So I mean, it's kind of a relief that we didn't have a child, but at the same time, still sad that there was a miscarriage. But would have a 3-year-old walking around calling me dad, and life would be a lot different now.
Pretty
Um,
much. Heck, my biological daughter, I had her when I was, yeah, I had her when she was 21. I had her
yeah,
when I was 21.
to make a
So,
and I'm like,
mm, and she's going to be 14 this
actually,
year.
no, I tend to call daddy.
I wish I could have been child free by choice, but my ex husband sabotaged our birth control.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah. So, um, thing in my case, or well, actually, I don't know whether it's sabotage. I don't know why I keep suggesting it is. I felt she claimed to be on birth control, which I found out later was a lie, and I used a condom anyway, and that didn't work. So for all I know, she could have popped a hole in the condom, and I didn't catch it. Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
My friend Pedro's like, we're all asexual here except for vegan. Yep, vegan is a fellow bisexual, but the other three are asexual. So is Michea.
Yeah, and I think one of the most frustrating things to try and explain to people about asexuality is you can still get horny.
Yep. Well,
Everybody's like,
the
"Oh,
way
you're not actually asexual because you had sex with your husband last night." It's like, okay, I'm on testosterone and I've got a libido that went from -0 Kelvin to holy fuck through the roof. I'm going to need to find an outlet.
yeah, one of my friends on Facebook who is a trans man who is also asexual basically explained, basically said, okay, imagine that someone doesn't like pancakes, but if you put pancakes in front of them, they will eat it. If you're cooking pancakes and you offer them, they'll probably say yes. But they're not going to seek out pancakes. They're going to think those pancakes were good, though.
Yeah.
And basically said, well, that's what asexuality is like with sex. Uh, I mean, I think that you would kind of get the point from the pancake analogy, but yeah, it's basically um, they might yeah, if you offer them sex, they might say yes, and they have a bit of a libido. They might say yes, and they might have sex once in a while, but they're not going to actively seek it out. And it may not even be an attraction to a specific person.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I mean, there are some asexual people who may not have a libido.
Yeah, there's people who are averse to sex that are asexual, and then there are people who are like, sex is not my thing. I'm not sexually attracted to people, but you know what? If I get horny and masturbation's not going to do it, then I'm going to do something.
Yeah. But if you have sex with your husband, you are not a true asexual.
Yeah. Oh, how dare I?
I have to tell you how to live your life so that I feel like a better person.
That's the same bullshit that I get with transgender stuff. It's like, oh, I got called a transtrender for 2 years until all of a sudden posted up that I started hormones, and suddenly I'm a real boy. I'm a real boy.
Oh shit, my voice completely cracked. I was trying to do the Pinocchio voice.
Yeah, my voice is cracking now too.
I can't do it. I can't do it. Yeah, yes. I guess Michea didn't know it, but yes, Pedro is sex averse, or the way he describes it, he's sex repulsed.
Yeah, sex repulsed is the other term.
He hangs around talking on Google Hangouts with a bunch of pansexuals all day, but he's completely sex averse, which means that when he starts, he just cares about me. No, like I'm not interested in this conversation.
That works.
Yeah, I spend time on. We use Google Hangouts in private, like a Skype call almost. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's right. It's G.
Well, I was going to say my husband is sending me texts that I need to get going because it is dinner time.
Sent them to you in text form. All right.
Well, if I'm on a hangout, he tends to text me instead of coming in and going, "Hey."
Yeah, he is polite. All right.
I have taught my caveman well.
Yep. All right. Well, I don't want to hold you for too much longer. This is Michea B. You can check out her channel. I will definitely put a link in it later. A link to his channel later. See, there I go, fucking up everybody's pronouns. Pedro's, vegans, yours.
It's okay.
What's next? I'm gonna fuck up my own pronouns. Actually, I have done that. But okay. So this is Michea B. You can check out his channel by looking up Michea B for now, and I'm gonna put a link for later to his channel. And well, I will have another hangout sometime in the future, and I'll have a video up sometime eventually. I'll get around to it when I get the fuck around to it. All right. All right. So, anything you want to say before you leave, Michea?
Nah, I'm good. I had a lot of fun talking, and it was a lot of fun.
All right. See you, Michea.